Somewhere around 15,000 years ago, a wolf walked toward a human campfire, and instead of being killed on sight, it was allowed to stay. That single decision, made by people who had no idea what they were starting, would eventually put a sleeping animal at the foot of your bed tonight. Think about that for a second. You didn't domesticate dogs. Nobody sat down and planned it. There was no meeting, no strategy, no moment where an ancient human said, "Let's turn this predator into a companion." It happened almost by accident, through thousands of small, ordinary choices, made by people who were simply trying to survive one more winter. And that's what makes this story so strange. Because the animal sleeping in your house right now, the one that greets you at the door like you've been gone for years, exists because of a mistake that turned into the most successful partnership in the history of two species. If you like uncovering the hidden stories behind the everyday things nobody questions, this is exactly the kind of thing this channel exists for. So it's worth sticking around and subscribing before we go further. To understand how this happened, you have to picture a world where wolves were not friends. They were rivals. Ice Age humans and wolves were both apex predators, both hunting the same prey, both competing for the same shrinking resources during some of the coldest, harshest winters our species ever faced. A wolf near your camp wasn't a good sign. It was a threat. So how did we go from that to golden retrievers falling asleep in laundry baskets? The answer starts with garbage. Not romance, not intention. Garbage. Ancient human camps produced waste. Bones, scraps, leftover meat nobody wanted. And where there's free food, nature finds a way to take advantage of it. Some wolves, the ones slightly less afraid of humans, started lingering near these camps at a safe distance, picking through what was left behind. Here's where it gets interesting. Being near humans came with a cost. Too aggressive, too nervous, too unpredictable, and you'd end up speared or chased off. So without anyone planning it, a filter was created. Only the calmer wolves, the ones with just enough nerve to get close but not enough aggression to attack, survived long enough to keep coming back. Generation after generation, without a single human trying to breed anything, nature was quietly selecting for one trait above all others: tolerance of people. And that's when scientists uncovered something that completely changed how we understand this process. In the 1950s, a Russian geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev ran an experiment that nobody expected to reveal what it did. He wasn't even trying to study dogs. He was breeding silver foxes, but only for one single trait: how calm they were around humans. Nothing else. Not appearance. Not size. Just friendliness. Within a few generations, something bizarre started happening. The calmer foxes didn't just act more like dogs. They started looking like them too. Floppy ears appeared. Curled tails showed up. Spotted fur emerged out of nowhere. Their skulls even got slightly smaller. Nobody selected for any of that. It came along for free, attached to the genes responsible for calmness. That discovery proved something remarkable. If you select an animal for friendliness alone, its entire biology begins to shift, its body, its behavior, even the chemicals running through its brain, without a single deliberate choice about physical appearance. Which means the dog sitting near you right now, tail wagging, ears soft and floppy, didn't get that way because someone thought it looked cute. It got that way because friendliness rewired everything else. This is where the story stops being about wolves and starts being about us. Because once these friendlier wolves started integrating into human life, something extraordinary began. They weren't just tolerated anymore. They became useful. A wolf that barked at approaching predators gave early humans a warning system while they slept. A wolf that could track scent gave hunters an advantage no human nose could match. Suddenly, this animal wasn't competition. It was an ally. And here's the twist that most people never think about. This wasn't a one-sided arrangement. Humans didn't just use dogs. Dogs used us right back. In a world of brutal winters and constant threats, becoming useful to humans was one of the smartest survival strategies any animal could stumble into. While other predators were still fighting nature alone, dogs had figured out how to get warmth, protection, and food just by sticking close to the species that once hunted them. Two predators, evolving side by side, each one shaping the other without ever intending to. Now here's where this stops feeling like ancient history and starts feeling personal. Every time your dog tilts its head while you're talking, every time it stares into your eyes in a way no wild animal ever would, you're watching the end result of that same ancient filter. Wild wolves avoid direct eye contact with humans. It's threatening to them. But dogs evolved to look us in the eyes on purpose, because thousands of years ago, the wolves that could hold a human gaze without triggering fear were the ones who got to stay by the fire. That stare you get every morning when you're eating breakfast isn't just a dog begging for food. It's a survival skill passed down from an animal that learned generation after generation that eye contact could mean the difference between being fed and being chased away. And there's something even stranger buried in this story. Genetic research has found that dogs share a mutation linked to a rare human condition that makes people extremely trusting and overly friendly toward strangers. In other words, the same biological glitch that can make a person hypersocial may be part of what makes a dog wag its tail at literally anyone who walks through the door. It's a small detail, but it changes the way you look at your dog's excitement over a total stranger. That uncontrollable joy isn't a lack of judgment. It's a genetic echo of the exact trait that let its ancestors survive in the first place. The friendliest wolves got fed. The friendliest dogs got kept. And 10,000 years later, that same trait is still running the show every time the doorbell rings. What's just as fascinating is how this accidental partnership kept reshaping both species long after the first wolves wandered into camp. As humans spread across the world, dogs spread with them, adapting to freezing tundras, scorching deserts, and everything in between, long before humans understood anything about selective breeding. We weren't engineering a species. We were simply living alongside one, and it was quietly evolving to fit whatever life we happened to be living. Even our bodies started responding to each other. Studies have shown that when a person and their dog make eye contact, both of their brains release oxytocin, the same hormone responsible for the bond between a parent and a newborn child. That's not something that happens between humans and, say, house cats or livestock. It's a chemical response usually reserved for our closest relationships, and somehow a completely different species ended up wired into it. Think about that the next time your dog waits by the window before you even reach the driveway, or the next time it presses its body against your leg during a thunderstorm, or a moment when you're upset and it suddenly appears beside you, saying nothing, doing nothing but staying close. None of that was designed. None of that was planned. It was built slowly, by accident, through thousands of years of two species quietly choosing each other, one small act of trust at a time. So tonight, when your dog curls up at the end of the bed, or rests its head on your lap without being asked, remember what you're actually looking at. Not a pet, not a possession, the living result of an accident that never should have worked. A truce between two predators that somehow became the deepest friendship one species has ever built with another. And somewhere, quietly sleeping beside you, is proof that sometimes the greatest bonds in history were never planned at all. They just happened, one small act of trust at a time, until neither species could imagine surviving without the other.